Hi there, my name's Keith. I worship at Parish Mission, and I also go to St. Pete's as well. Here's my thought for the day. The reading I'd like to look at today is from Romans 12 verse 2. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, perfect and pleasing will." Houston, we have a problem here. That's a famous quote from Jim Lovell on the Apollo 13 mission. A few weeks ago, I listened to a podcast called 13 Minutes to the Moon on the BBC podcast. And it tells the story of the Apollo 13 mission and the troubles that they had on that mission and how they had to get them back home. On the way to the moon, the Apollo 13 suffered an explosion in the oxygen tanks. The mission obviously went out the window, no moon landing now, and mission control had to work out of a way to get these people back to Earth. Ground control looked at the scenario and decided that looping round the moon would be the best option, but this is going to take 4 days. The crew, to enable this to happen, would have to go into the lunar module. That's the module that was going to land on the moon. But this was only ever designed for 2 people for 2 days. Now 3 people for 4 days were going to have to live in it. Too much carbon dioxide is a killer. And unfortunately for the crew of Apollo 13, the thing that they wanted to do the most, which was stay alive and breathing, was actually killing them. The filters on the lunar module couldn't cope with the extra demand of 3 people. And they didn't have any replacement filters. They were round filters. But they did have square ones in the command module that they'd just left. The reading says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world." But what is the pattern of this world? Well, I'd like to liken it to the round filter in the lunar module. When things get too much for it, it stops working and it can be a killer. We only have to look at the selfish way that we looked after number 1 in the very early days of the pandemic. The rush on the staple foods at the supermarket, even though they said that there'd be plenty for us. The injustice we've felt at not being able to travel and our holidays being cancelled. The judgment we've brought on others and those in authority trying to do the best in these unprecedented times. And although we've seen acts of kindness that result from the lockdown, and we hope that things will change, we also see a return to the self-centred way we were before. The I want, I need now culture. It says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Ground control went on to work on finding a way how to get the square filter to cover over the round filter and keep the crew alive and get them home. They would have to transform the filter operation with a new way of thinking. They did it with some cardboard, duct tape, plastic bags, a hose and a towel. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. The square filter completely covered the failings of the round filter, and it saved the crew. This transformation was a lifesaver. If you transform your way of thinking to a Jesus-centered way of thinking, the filter of His grace over your life and over your current filter, which might be killing you, will be yours for the rest of your journey. It'll not only transform your life, but it'll transform those who you meet too. How can we do this though? It's interesting to note that there was no YouTube instruction manual on how to change a filter to transform a filter. They couldn't send any pictures up to the Apollo 13. What they did was they built a prototype here on Earth and relayed the instructions. The crew would then write them down and follow them. We have an instruction book already relayed and written for us. And if you spare some time to look at it, it might just save your life. Thank you for listening.